Okay, just testing again. We've been having some technical difficulties. So for those people online, are you able to see the picture and hear my voice at the same time? Should be working, hopefully. And let me take a look at Zoom. Okay, Lynn, thank you so much for letting me know that. Okay, I think we can get started a little bit. We're having a hard time. For those of you trying to log into Facebook, Facebook changed their code, and so anyone trying to get on Facebook, I'm sorry, but we'll just make it work. Give me just a sec. Check, check, check. Okay, and okay, we got your computer all set up. Okay, here you go. Go ahead and talk.
Hello,
Awesome.
test, we're working.
And I'm just gonna do a test on this 1 2 1 2. Okay, awesome. Hi. Whoa, you guys, my brain is tired. I've been trying to figure out technology. Facebook changed their coding, and so all those people trying to get on Facebook right now can't get on Facebook to watch it. And so hopefully enough people use Zoom. But we are going to get started. Let's see. Do we have Celeste? Where's she at? Okay, let's do that. Hey, do we? Start this up a little tiny bit so it works. Okay, test 1 2. Check check. Checkers, chess, wheat checks, rice checks.
Corn
Okay,
checks.
corn checks.
Love them.
All right. I think that sounds a little bit better. And I need my glasses. Say again. Ah, and now I don't know where I put my glasses. I just had my glasses. Front table. It's so crazy. Yeah, you guys heard my dad joke, right? The what did Mama Corn say to baby corn? Where's popcorn? You know, that's my corny joke. That's the, yeah. So, anyways, why don't you come up here before we get started? So you know, Mitzi has been going hours and hours, not sleeping enough, and everything else, working on her cookbook, and it's finally through. Everybody, give her a hand. So, if anybody does want it, we have it up there for sale, and it's the What If Cookbook. Do you want to say anything about it?
So people keep coming in the store going, I know I need food storage because the stuff's going to hit the fan and I, I- I have no idea how to use it. I go, you just rehydrate and put it in your recipes. And they go, huh? So I got a message from somebody upstairs that I needed to write this cookbook and help people. And included in that is what if, how to cook. What if there's adverse conditions? What if there's no food in the grocery stores? Oh, we've seen that before. Let's see, 4 years ago. What if there's no power or natural gas for an extended period of time? How are you going to feed yourself? What if you have to suddenly evacuate? Do you have your mountain house or other just add water meals? What if you have? What if there's like an EMP and we go back to 1820 and you have to cook like your great great grandparents? Well, you're alive because they were able to cook, so you can do it too. So do you have your Dutch oven, your volcano, your Saratoga Jack, your all the other stuff?
When she says volcano, she doesn't mean a caldera. Okay, there's like a cooking thing called a volcano, and we actually have them now. So pretty cool.
So this book helps you to learn how to cook your shelf-stable food using whatever device you have, even if it's a fire. And it also has 5 weeks of breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I've only got the winter season organized yet, but I will be finishing up spring, summer, and fall. And you can use each 5-week section for the whole, 3 months of the season, and you will have a whole year of turnkey recipes, how to rehydrate, what to do, and how much food storage you need. Including, it also has lists for the canned foods, your baking goods, your herbs and spices that help make it really cool. Sorry. So anyway, these are $29.95 here at the store, and I encourage you to get one and look through it. Thanks.
Thank you. Good job, Mitzi. Awesome. And just to give you guys an update, I've been working on the Thrivalist course, updating it. I thought I could do it in 1,000 hours, but I think it's going to take me closer to about 1,500 hours or 2,000 hours to update. But man, it's weird. I'm writing it and I'm like, this is good. It's like, it's just crazy because, I take sometimes 5 days to get one page done because I have all this information in my brain. And I'm like, how do I condense that to one page instead of 10 to 15 pages? And I'll just go all week just like, how do I do it? I don't want to do 15 pages. And then I'll be in the shower and I'm like, I figured it out. And then I'll go and have to work on it. And sometimes literally takes like one page every 5 days. Luckily, yesterday I did 3 pages, which was awesome. But when this course is done, the new Thrivalist course, I think it's going to be probably 5 to 10 times better than the one you guys have right now. And just amazing information. So you guys will enjoy it. All those who are Thrivalist members. If you're not, shame on you. You better hurry up before we raise the price. So. Oh, and everybody online, make sure you mute it. Everybody in here, make sure you mute your phones. Okay? And if you have a spouse that talks a lot, mute that person too. Okay? Just kidding. I like talkers. I'm a talker. My wife would say, stop talking. She's not here. Okay. Anyways, the other thing I wanted to bring up is, what's up, Robert? How are you, man? Good to see you, brother. Is something really important that I was about to say. Oh, I figured it out. So does anybody know who Jeff Cooper is? Sound familiar? You know who Jeff Cooper is. The #1 gun person in the world, gun trainer in the world. And he's one of the most decorated people, everything else. Larry Mudgett, do you know that name? Okay, so Jeff Cooper is dead. Larry Mudgett trained with Jeff Cooper for about 36 years. And Larry Mudgett is the #1 gun trainer in the world now. And so he worked, he was in Vietnam War. He was with the LAPD for 35 years. He led the, the LAPD SWAT team for, I think, 13 or 15 years or something like that. They asked them to do the training for the LAPD, and they were getting about 18% of the LAPD officers were actually getting awarded with a medal on their shooting. Okay, 18% were actually graduating, right? He went in there, and I think in the first week he took that up to like 90 something percent, and eventually he got it to 100% and kept it there for 13 years. He is the best. Okay, there's no one like him. He's been doing martial arts and everything since 17 years old, and a whole bunch of other stuff. He moved to Utah, and I was on a phone call with him right before this, and he's pretty busy, and he's going through a shoulder surgery, and he's got all these instructors and everything else that I want to be part of his team. I asked him this, but I cannot promise anything yet. I asked him if we can put together a little group of us that want to do a course. He's got everything booked out. There's a chance next week or the week after, or next week and the week after, like 4 days is what it is. There's a chance that we might be able to get him to add one more class next week or the week after. He charges $675, which is nothing, for 4 days. I told him if he is willing to do it, he has to talk to his wife. If he's willing to do it, I said, you can use this place for your first class, because first day is not on the range. First day is all right here, right in a classroom. And he said, that's interesting. And his wife didn't get home in time for me to even ask her. So I'm doing this kind of off the cuff. He doesn't know I'm doing this. Okay, but he has room for, if we were to do it, he does small groups. He does 14 people at the most at one time. I told him my wife and I are in, and then a friend of mine said I want in and his wife want in. So we have 10 more spots, if anybody really is committed or interested in being part of this, if we can get it going, can I just have you guys put your name down on a piece of paper with Celeste? Is anyone interested in here? Okay. So let me just count the amount of people that we have. It would be $675 per person. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. We have more than we have than he can fit in. Yeah. Your guns. Yeah, handguns. So what he does is this. He has a whole bunch of courses, but he doesn't let you do any of the courses until you take his first course. And he says, if you've been to front side and all that stuff, forget it. Throw it away. Okay? Start over. He's going to teach you the right way. He's going to take you through everything. And I've been to front side a bunch of times, so I thought I knew something. Thought I was smart. And he said, if you're going to do any of my other courses, you have to do the basic handgun one first. And I'm going to teach you the principles of guns. And then after that, and maybe I should ask, these are the classes I want to do. In fact, I'll pull them up because these are the ones, and I'm just curious if I can get him to give us a good deal and maybe even use our store to cut down costs for our members a little bit. He can't do much, but I'm sure he can take off $25, $50 or something if I can get him to do it. These are the classes that he has on his website, and I was looking at them earlier today. It's let me find it. Classes. So for this year, give me a second. I'm sorry, it's not clicking on.
What's his name?
Larry Mudgett. This is him right there. And if you want to go to his site, it's Marksmanship Matters is the name of it. You don't. No, but it makes it easier if you do have it, because then we don't have to, have to do any background checks and all that stuff, right? But let me, if I can click on this, if it'll let me. Okay, there it is. So these are the classes that he's doing this summer. He's got basic pistol for 4 days. He's got, you can't do anything else until you've done the basic pistol. He has intermediate pistol. So after you get the first handgun thing, he has intermediate. How many people would be interested? And he said it was all the same. Hold on. I think it's less than that, $400. So for $675 for the first 4 days. Then the second one is $400, and I think that's for 2 days. And then other ones are 1 days and 2 days and 4 days and everything else. But these are the ones that are listed, and I wanted to see if people who did the defensive pistol, which is the basic pistol, how many would want to do the 2-day intermediate pistol in here. So 1, 2, can somebody write these down? Because I'm going to, hey, Celeste, somebody, can you write down these numbers? Because I'm going to give him these numbers just to show him that, look, we can bring people to you. Okay? So so we had 14 people for the basic class. Got that? We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 people for intermediate. The next one is, this is close contact and one-handed shooting. It's a 1-day class for $200. And close contact and one-handed shooting. How many people would be interested in that? We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7. Okay. Next one is night shooting, and that would be a 1-day, 1-night class, I guess, 1 p.m. to 10 p.m. and that's $200 with a pistol, with a handgun. Night shooting. How many would be interested in that? Okay, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 8. Okay. Next one is AR-15, and this is for 4 days, 26, 27, 4 days, $675, and you have to have done the pistol class to even get into it. How many people would be interested in his AR-15 class? Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, we got 6 down. Okay, and then we got motor vehicle tactics, which is 1 day, and I don't know what that means in all reality. So I'm guessing, I don't know what it is. Say again? Shooting from a vehicle. It could be shooting from a vehicle. So I can find out more details on it. It could be evasive driving. So I have to find out about that. But how many people would be interested in it, and I can find out more details. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5. Okay. Huh? I missed one? 6. Okay, 6. Okay, the next one is shooting while moving to cover. Shooting while moving to cover for $200 for 1 day. And how many people would be interested in that? Okay, so we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 7. And then the last one here is called Predator Defense and Backwoods Survival, handguns only. Predator Defense and Backwoods Survival. And that's how many days? 1, 2, 3 days, and it's $500. 3 days, $500. Who's interested in that? Okay, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and that's everyone, right? 9. Okay, you got that? Okay, I'm going to give them these numbers and see if we can get it going. If we can those who are interested in the first class, would you mind, or whatever class, but the first class is what I'm trying to get him to do for us. Would you mind passing around a piece of paper, and can you get all those names and numbers? Because if he says yes when we meet tomorrow, then I'm going to call you guys and we're going to get this set up super fast. Okay? But if he says no, then we'll figure out another time. Okay? Awesome. Is that it? Okay. Okay, so Carrie.
Hi.
All right. Thank you. Thank you for being here. Let's see. Do we have a microphone on you still?
I do.
Okay, let's get that a little higher.
Oh, sorry.
Do that. Go ahead and say something.
Hi.
Okay, again.
Hi.
Can you guys hear him on the mic?
Can you guys hear me?
Okay,
Sweet.
Okay, so Carrie's been doing advanced first aid or first aid training, stop the bleed training, Wolfer training, a whole bunch of different things, wilderness first survival training for the last 9, 10 years.
A little bit longer than that.
A little longer than that.
Yeah.
And he's one of the experts. Our team met him at a trade show, and they were super impressed with him. So they said, we need to get him in. This is what he does for a living. And so we're really grateful for him to be here. He owns K Safety, and he's a pro. So why don't we turn over the time to you, and we'll get started.
All right. Thanks. Appreciate it. Well, thanks you guys for taking your time out to be here. I mean, that's pretty awesome that you guys are interested in this topic that is actually pretty special to me. Kind of the things that we're going to talk about in wilderness first aid. What does that mean to you? Wilderness first aid. What does that sound like? Awesome. I like that. What else? Backwoods. Okay.
For the sake of the people that are online,
Uh-huh.
it's going to be really hard for us to run around and get a microphone to everybody.
Okay.
to get their response. Can you repeat what they say for the people that are watching?
Sure. Absolutely. Okay. Thanks. Okay. So what else does wilderness first aid mean? Where would that be?
In the woods.
In the woods, right? Who agrees? Raise your hand. Agrees, right? What kind of woods do you live in right now? Concrete jungle. Urban woods. I like that. Urban woods. So, wilderness first aid doesn't mean that you're up Parley's Canyon or at Snowbird or at any of the other places where there's trees and chipmunks. It could be at the mall. It could be in your backyard. It could be at church. It could be at the movie theaters. It could be at trolley station. Does that make sense? Does anybody not understand that? Wilderness first aid now, compared to where it was 10 years ago, has changed drastically. Why do you think that's changed? What do you think has made wilderness first aid changed or evolved? Mass shootings. I love that. That's actually the number one reason. What? Technology, right? What do you think we used for tourniquets back? Yes, ma'am. I'm sorry? I did. Yeah, that's a big one. So a little bit of my history, my background. I'm from Georgia, great state of. If you guys don't know, home of the 3-time national champion Georgia Bulldogs. Go Dogs. Woo! So I'm a dog fan, true and true, and Atlanta Braves. And when I first started as a CPR instructor, I was a reserve deputy. I was 17 years old. That's how old I am. I'm old, okay? Matter of fact, they're just finding dirt that I was like kind of born in, and that was like 100,000 years ago, right? So when I first started, we did 2 compressions in one breath when we did CPR. That's been a while. Now it's 120 compressions a minute and to 2 compressions. So everything's kind of changed a little bit because of evolved. Everything has evolved. Back in my day, when I worked at Georgia State Prison, our tourniquets were your bootlace. That was your tourniquet. That, there again, I'm old. Now we have cat type, windlass type of tourniquets, right? And we're going to go over and talk a couple of those things. But when we go to talk about wilderness first aid, it could happen. It could be a multitude of things. It could be lacerations. It could be hypothermia. It could be heat stroke. It could be a car crash. It could be a laceration. It could be a non-life-threatening laceration, or it could be a life-threatening laceration. What do you think the difference of the two is? I'm sorry? Blood, what kind? A lot of blood, but arterial bleeding, right? Unless you're a hemophilia, if you have hemophilia A or B, or you're on certain blood thinners. A laceration, unless you don't have the medicine, if you're a hemophilia, if you don't have the medication you need for that, what would be a non-life-threatening to you and I could be a life-threatening. Now that's kind of rare, but it still could be, right? What if there's somebody's on blood thinners? What do you think that would be? Same thing. When I got sick, I had a blood clot in my head years ago. So I was on Levinox and Coumadin. I mean, you just touch me, I mean, I turned purple, right? High chance of internal bleeding. So I carried a junctional tourniquet with me quite a bit, because if I had gotten hit in the hip area or in the femoral artery area, I could bleed out like that. So wilderness first aid is not just in the backwoods. It's not just in fishing or camping trips. It's in everyday life. And we're not talking about advanced first aid like we would have if we're somewhere else. We're talking about just basic things. Wilderness first aid is the core basic when we get into first aid and treatment of it. Then you get into different layers from there. Does that kind of make sense? Okay. When I teach this class, one of the things I like to ask, is there anything specific that you would like to talk about or learn about tonight? We have a couple of 2.5, 3 hours, so it doesn't matter to me, but is there anything specific? Yes, sir.
When to and when not to use a tourniquet.
When to and when not to use a tourniquet. Fantastic, because that's definitely one we're going to talk about. And we're going to talk about the different types of tourniquets. Anything else? Yes, ma'am. Burns, great, love that. We're going to talk about burns too. Yes, sir. Windpipe for like choking or, yeah. Okay, crush windpipes and stuff, choking. We'll talk about abdominal thrust. Okay.
Are there circumstances in which it's inappropriate, like illegal or inappropriate for us to try to do something?
Oh, great question. Let's start that off with so the legal concepts, right? How are we protected? I'm sorry? Good Samaritan Act, right? I actually helped write that, change that. So let's talk about legal concepts.
There are relevant legal concepts that all first aid and CPR providers need to be familiar with. Duty to rescue is a concept in law that refers to the duty of a person to rescue another who is in a dangerous situation. In the U.S., in general circumstances, there is no duty to rescue. A person cannot be held liable for doing nothing while another person is in peril. However, there are certain situations where a person may have legal duty to provide aid to an ill or injured person. For example, the driver of a vehicle involved in a crash resulting in an injury or death of any person would have that duty. Some people, by the nature of their occupation, have legal duty to provide first aid. This includes firefighters, law enforcement officers, lifeguards, school teachers, and others. A Good Samaritan is defined as one who voluntarily renders aid to another in distress, although under no duty to do so. All 50 states and the District of Columbia have statutes that provide immunity from liability for people who assist others, called Good Samaritan laws. They are intended to encourage people to help others in an emergency without having to worry about being sued. Good Samaritan laws generally apply to any person who voluntarily comes to the aid of an ill or injured person and acts as an ordinary, reasonably prudent person would have acted under the same or similar circumstances. Although these laws vary from state to state, they typically require these circumstances to apply. The situation is an emergency. Any aid is voluntarily given. The victim must give consent whenever possible. The aid must be given free of charge and in good faith. The aid cannot be grossly negligent. Grossly negligent means a lack of care that demonstrates a reckless disregard for the safety or lives of others, which is so great it appears to be a conscious violation of other people's rights to safety. It is more than simple carelessness. To provide first aid care for someone in an emergency, you must have their consent, meaning their approval or agreement.
Oh yeah, please help.
Consent comes in two forms, expressed or implied. Expressed consent can be given verbally, in writing, or non-verbally. For example, when a person nods their head to agree when asked, "May I help you?" Don't touch or give first aid to a conscious adult who objects to it. Consent is implied when circumstances would lead a reasonable person to believe that consent would be given, but it was not directly expressed. Implied consent in an emergency usually occurs when you're unable to communicate with a person, such as if someone is unresponsive. The assumption is that they would ask for help if they were able to. Employers are legally obligated to keep certain employee records private. For example, the Americans with Disabilities Act requires employers that have disability-related medical information about an employee treat it as a confidential medical record. However, this information may be disclosed to first aid and safety personnel when appropriate, if the disability might require emergency treatment. If you learn confidential medical information in your role as a first aid provider, it is your responsibility to keep it confidential. To be abandoned is to be left without needed protection, care, or support. Although there is generally no duty to rescue, once you decide to help, you should not abandon the victim. Stay with them and continue to care for them until someone with equivalent or higher training takes over for you.
Okay, so legal concepts, that's kind of a big deal, right? What type of society do we live in now? Right? For every one firefighter, there's 50 lawyers, right? University of Utah Law School, amazing. Law School, BYU Law School, amazing. It's a factory, just kicks them out, right? So, if you render aid on somebody, what do you do? What's the first thing? I see Beth, right? Everybody know Beth? Hi, Beth, right? I see Beth, say we didn't know each other, but I see Beth and I go, "Hey, my name's Carrie, I'm trying to help. I saw you fall. Are you okay?"
And if I don't respond,
Or
do
just,
I respond?
"Are you okay? I saw you fall. Beth, I saw you fall." Well, I don't know her name right now, but anyways, I saw you fall. You seem to be hurt. Are you okay?
No.
No? Okay, I'm trying to help. Is it okay if I help you?
Yes.
Okay, so that's, what did I do? I got consent, all right? Now tell me no. "Hi, my name's Carrie. I saw you fall. I saw you get hurt. Can I help you? I'm trying to help."
No.
"But I saw you fall. You look like you kind of got a big knot right there. It kind of looks a little gross, but it'll be all right. I'm trying to help. Can I help you?"
No.
"Look, I have a patch that says I can help. Can I help you?"
No.
I said, now, did I hurt you when I did that?
No.
Okay, but what did I just do? I touched her. What is that? Without her, what is that called? Assault. That's the number one reason people get, it's called piercing the veil. Attorneys, it's called piercing the veil of the Good Samaritan that keeps you from being protected. So once you do that, you act outside of the Good Samaritan, you have opened yourself up. Does that make sense? Now, I ask her, I see her, I'm talking to her, and she's telling me no, no, no. And then all of a sudden, she passes out. She goes, bloop. And I start to go, start doing my thing to help her. Am I protected under Good Samaritan? Now remember, she told me no like 20 times. And she passes out. Am I okay to help? Yes? Why? She can't communicate, right? And
she would now want help.
the U.S. Supreme Court said exactly that. And what this gentleman, what's your name, sir? Mark. And what Mark just said is that you would assume that she would say yes at that moment. And that's exactly what the U.S. Supreme Court has said. It's called implied consent. So when she says no, 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 but all of a sudden, bloop, passes right out, the Supreme Court said any reasonable person at that moment would say yes. So if they pass out, then da-da-da. Now, if she does tell me no, what do I do? What's my job? Call 9, always, always, always. Can she refuse 911? The EMS shows up. All right. There again, I'm from Georgia. I still say ambulance and police. All right. So you're not going to get the trailer park out of everybody. I tried. So, but the ambulance shows up, and can she say, I'm fine, I don't want to be transported? Absolutely. Is she liable for that? No. If she refuses treatment, they show up, nope, they can't bill anybody. Can't bill you, they can't bill her. She said, no, I don't want it, I'm done. I'll take myself, right? Because that happens a lot, believe it or not, okay? Now, if they take her and do all that stuff, then that's a different story. She's liable at that moment, okay? So don't touch or grab anybody without their consent. Does that make sense? Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
If she always said no, 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 and there's somebody there, and it's her no, 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 and yet she passes out and you start doing it, then what?
You're still covered.
You're still covered.
Yeah, because that person has no control.
Even though she was with somebody. Say it's a...
Yeah, family, a brother, dad,
Doesn't
husband,
matter.
wife, kid, whatever. Yeah, it doesn't matter. Yeah, once you start, then, because 99% of the time they just look at you like, do something, right? You have a patch, do something, right? So now, who's liable to respond to, if Beth falls out, who's liable? Are you liable? If you're certified, you go to a CPR class or first aid class and you get certified, are you legally liable to render aid in the state of Utah? I'm sorry? If you have a little card for 2 years from, say, American Heart or Health and Safety, yeah, you're liable, right? No, you're not. Used to be. About 7 years ago. Yes, sir.
Child that's injured, they can't. Do they have to give the consent?
Yeah. So what he's asking is, if a minor or a child is injured, do they have to give consent? Yes, they do. But at that moment, I've yet ever come across a child or a minor that's said no. They said, yeah, I'm hurt, da-da-da. I always try to find an adult that's with them, or that could be, or somebody that's supposed to be seeing it, watching them and stuff, and they can tell you no, because they're the, parent or whatever, or the guardian. But yeah, I've still treated kids that stuff on a soccer field. They fell and got road rash, and I was there watching, and so.
Kid trips over on a bicycle.
Happens all the time. Yeah. We just call it getting tough. That's what my dad called it. Oh, you'll be all right. Put some dirt on it. You'll be all right. All right. Quit your crying. I'll give you something to cry about. So no.
Hey, Carrie, here's another one.
Yeah.
The question is, what about on the APFU scale, the alert consciousness scale? If they're with dementia, you can tell that they're not alert. They hit their head, they're kind of out of it. They're
Yeah,
still
that's a
saying
great
no.
one.
What do you do at that point?
Okay, so I've actually happened to me personally. I had one of my son when they were young. Now all my kids are old and married, but they were at school, and their PE teacher was showing them, I think, like some board, like not a skateboard or something else. I can't remember what they call it, but anyway, she boom down, bonked her head, stars all over. Definitely gave her a concussion, and I go, Miss Hollingsworth, are you okay? Or sure, you got a pretty good noggin there. What happened? And she didn't know where she was. She didn't, I mean, she was dazed and confused. So I rendered aid. I told my son to go grab my aid pack out of the back of my truck, and he did. And we started taking a call to EMS, and she was pretty goofy for a minute. But yeah, say if they do have a mental health issue, say if they do have an injury issue that has some sort of like concussion, they're kind of like this and all that. Yeah, you can render aid. Absolutely. You have to use what's called this one word. That word, hopefully I spelled it right. I ain't got no learning. I'm from Georgia, remember? Justify. You have to justify what you did. Now, you can't say, well, it was my makeup was running over here, and so I went over here to help, and I moved him with me, and I'm sorry his neck fell out or something, right? No, you can't justify that, right? But I could justify why I helped that individual who I thought was having a concussion or some TBI, traumatic brain injury, right? I could justify. Does that make sense? It's when I can't justify is where all the legal issues come. So here's a breath of fresh air about the Good Samaritan rule or act or law. In the US last year, there's, I think it was like 28,000 and some odd cases filed against responders, lay people like us, that rendered aid. How many do you think were settled? How many do you think were actually won by the plaintiff? Just guess. Zero. Zero is my hero. That's exactly right. Zero, not one. There's not been one successful case ever won by a plaintiff as somebody that justified and acted out within the rules of that, okay? Now, go back. You're certified. So you have a CPR card, you're good for 2 years, and first aid card, you're good for 2 years, right? You're not liable to stop. It's all voluntary. Previously, about 7, 8 years ago in the state of Utah, if you even thought about the word, or you could say the word CPR or spell the word CPR, you had to render aid in the state of Utah. Well, myself and a few other instructors and that I personally know, we went to a legislator and said, hey, we're keeping people from wanting to become certified trainers or certified individuals to help with cardiac arrest because of how this is written. Can we change it? What's your opinion? Well, I never thought of that. And next thing you know, it took about 2 years, 3 years, and had to go to committee. It was actually pretty cool. So it was fun. But anyways, now it's changed to where it is now. Unless you're in California. If you're in California, if you have a CPR card, you have to render aid.
Does that mean if you're certified in Utah and
Yep.
you go to California?
Yep.
you're required to-
Yep, that's exactly right. So what she asked is, that's if you're certified in Utah, for example, or say Arizona, for example, and you go to California and visit, are you liable? Can you be held liable? And the answer is yes, if they find out, okay?
It has to be current.
It has to be current though.
Is it on? So let's say you're in a situation where you need to render aid. How do you chill yourself out to be able to handle
that's a
this
great
situation?
That's a
Because
great
if my kid's
question.
bleeding on the floor, my brain is going haywire,
Right.
going, my baby.
That's
And
exactly
I'm not
right.
going, oh, do you want help? You know,
Yeah.
that's not.
All right, so I mean, each person's different, especially when it comes to a loved one or responding to somebody. Does that make sense? What's your name, sir? Chris? All right, Chris. I come to help you and all that. Oh, hey, Chris, how you doing? Dude, you're jacked up. Dude, can you do that bone is sticking out? Can you? Man, oh, dude, put your finger in it. Stop dude, here's a paper towel. What am I doing? What did I do to you, Chris? Stressed you out a little bit, right? What happens in a medical emergency? You freak out. The victim freaks out. Our goal is to lower that stress level to control that person's emotional state. Because, yes, ma'am.
My mother was an RN, and she trained us kids. She said, you never have the right to scare the patient.
That's exactly
You
right.
never have the right to scare the patient. If you feel like freaking out, you have to freak out later on your own time.
And believe me, I have done that, right? Now, if it's one of my friends, first of all, I'm laughing, okay? Because that's kind of friends I run with. Like, I had my brother-in-law cut his finger off. He was a firearms instructor in Cedar, and he was doing some stuff in his garage and wasn't paying attention, cut his trigger finger off. And he just picked it up and went to the yard, and they sewed it back on. And it was like 6 weeks later, he was back on the range. And of course, I had to make fun of him the whole entire time because that's my job, right? Even when I was there, he's like, shut up, you're not helping. You're not making things better, right? And I'm like, oh, you're right. I'll wait till we get there. And then I just wanted to go touch it every time after. I was like, dude, does that hurt? Does that hurt? So, but no, that's not what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to help the best we can. Hey, Beth, my name's Carrie. I'm trained to help. I saw you fall. Is it okay? Right? Is it okay if I help you? Yes or no? Right? She says yes or no. It doesn't matter. I mean, we're just...
So how do you calm your own?
All right, that's the question. Each person's different. I can't tell you how to do it. I can tell you how I do it. First of all, if I'm responding to help somebody, whether it's a stranger or a family or a loved one or a close friend, I have to take a deep breath. And I have to remember, some of you moms, don't make me count to 10, right? I have to count to 10. And it's very fast, 1, 5, 10 on it. And it doesn't matter who I go help with, but that's my way of how I approach somebody. Does that make sense? You're just gonna have to work on it. Just practice it and well, I'm sorry. What she asked was, how does she help control herself from freaking out? And each person's different when it comes to that. So you just have to work that. Like if blood and guts isn't your thing, that's probably call 911 or go get a friend. It's actually better if you don't help. Does that make sense? Try to get somebody else there that's close. Don't wait forever. Does that make sense? Does that kind of help?
Yes.
Take a deep breath. All right.
Carrie,
Drink
what
it.
if she was to apply pressure while help was coming?
Oh, you can do that. But if she's puking at the same time, it's not really going to be helpful. Does that make sense? Now, what's her name?
Crystal.
Crystal. Now, is it okay for me? Crystal has a laceration, and I'm kind of like skittish anyways. Why do you think I would be skittish? Do I know you? Have we ever met? All right, let's play a quick game. Don't blot it out. I'll do it. Just think in your head. If you had to work on somebody in this room right now, and they cut themselves and you had to render aid, who do you think is somebody in this room would have some sort of bloodborne pathogen? And when I talk about bloodborne pathogen, I'm talking about hepatitis A, hepatitis B, hepatitis C, or possibly HIV. Don't blurt it out. And I'll tell you, because I know exactly who it is. I'm 100% at this. I have never been wrong. That's one claim to fame I can say. Think about it in your head, and I'll tell you exactly who it is. And I say this with the utmost respect. I do not mean to hurt anybody's feelings when we play this game, but it's something I got to get you to do to start to think. Because who's the most important person in this room right now? Yourself. And I don't care if you're working on a family member or a stranger. You're always concerned about yourself, all right? You ready? It's everybody. Everybody I come in contact with, I have to assume that has some sort of bloodborne pathogen. You know what Hep A is and Hep B? Affects the kidneys, liver, all that. Kind of gives you jaundice, keeps the blood from being filtered, right? What's Hep C? Or if you got exposed to Hep A or Hep B today, how long do you think it takes for it to show up in your system? And nurse, don't say, because you know. How long? A month, 6 months, a year, 6 years, 5 years, 5 weeks?
A year.
A year? I looked at. She said a year. What else? What's another one? A couple years? Okay, a couple years. I like that. What else? Or just Hep A and Hep B. How long is it, do you think, if you got exposed today, how long do you think it would take for you to show positive? A couple months? 2 to 3 years? I like that, okay? Generally average 6 to 12 months for you start to show signs and symptoms. Now, you go get treated, 100% curable. Some medicines, you get a shot in the backside, and it's kind of painful, but 100% treatable, okay? How about Hep C? You know what that affects? Kidneys, liver, spleen, and lower intestines. And if it goes untreated, all it does is just dissolves it all, turns it into mushed up jello, and then they put you in a coma and you die. That's what it does. Of the cure now, because medicine has changed, there's a 30% chance of cure now. It used to be 0. Now it's about a 30% of the affected population that has Hep C is that populations, there's with the treatments that are available now. All the treatments for that does not work on everybody. So it's about a 30, maybe 40% tops. If you got exposed to Hep C today, how long do you think it would take for that to show up in your system? You're getting exposed today. Guess. A year? I like that. She says a year. What else? Oh, come on. You guys are killing me. Let's go.
Just tell us what it is.
Just guess. A month? A little bit longer. A little bit longer. A little bit longer. A little bit longer. She said 20. A little bit longer. A little bit longer. Now she's 25. Do I have 30? Do I have 30 years? All right, 20 to 30 years. All right. Hey, I could have been an auctioneer there. Yes, ma'am. Could, if it only shows up. Yeah, so what she's asked is, if you tested, will it show up as a positive? And it all depends on the person's individual body, what it is. But the average for you get exposed for a positive is 20 to 30 years after initial exposure, right? So why wouldn't you want to wear these? Look at these. If you open up your pack, you might have a couple pair. Go ahead and take them out. Yes, ma'am.
Oh, some can be dormant. Some infections can be dormant.
Correct. Yeah, and that's what I kept seeing. You're 100. So what she said, some viruses or bacteria can be dormant, and that's 100% correct until it's not. So it's like HIV. It takes generally after initial exposure, it can take up to 4 or 5 years for you to start showing symptoms of it. Yes, ma'am.
So are these kinds of illnesses only spreadable through blood?
Oh, what a great question. So her question was, are these type of illnesses only spread through blood, right? Some are bacteria, and some bacteria can be airborne, because we just experienced all that from 2020 to about 2022, right? And that was what? COVID, right? Now, with hepatitis, bloodborne pathogens, there can be spread 100 different ways, right? The most common is through our hands. That's the number one way to introduce a bloodborne pathogen into our system is our hands. It's not the mouth, it's not the eyes, it's not breathing, it's our hands. Think of it. Pre-COVID, you'd only see like hand sanitizer, Lysol commercials just during the fall and the winter, right? During cold season. COVID hits, it was like 5 hand sanitizer commercials, a Lysol, 1 car commercial, 10 hand sanitizers, wash your hands, a Mexican restaurant commercial, right? Why? What's the dirtiest place in your house? Think of it. You know your home. No. No, it's close. It's real close. No, close. You guys, handles and doorknobs to your bathroom. Handles the door. All right, think about it. You ever go to a public restroom? You do your business. You're standing there washing your hands. Da 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 da. Ooh, your watch tells you, oh, you got 20 more seconds. So you do that, and then while you're doing that, somebody walks in, does their business, and they just do, right? Happens all the time. Doesn't matter if you're in the guy's room, girl's room, doesn't matter. Happens all the time, right? Cooties. Now, I'm not a germaphobe, but I don't touch a bathroom door without using a paper towel. It's not because I'm like OCD about it. It's just, it's gross, right? So the best way to protect yourself is using gloves. Does that make sense? Okay, now, it's a little bit different from this class compared to an employer, okay? So when you have your gloves on and they have cooties, what do you do with them? How do you take them off? Turn them inside out, okay? So what's your name? Jenny. So I'm going to say, hey, Jenny, God, you got all messed up. I got cooties all over me. Here. What'd I do? Now, she's up. Right? So I ball it up, but God, did you see that? That was a lot of blood. Oh my gosh, what are we doing here? I can't, here, help me. Is that how I'm going to take them off? No. How am I going to do it? Anybody want to come up and volunteer? Anybody like to show me? Yeah, how do you take your gloves off? Go ahead and put them on. There you go. You might need these. You never can tell. Great question, and no. And we'll talk about that in just 1 second. She asked, does any plastic glove work? Yes and no. And we're going to talk about that just in 1 second. So show us how.
Go like this.
Nope.
And go like this.
Nope.
And invert it.
No, you just got cooties all up in there.
Okay, but with one glove.
Yeah. So this hand had blood on it, and because you used it and went up underneath, now you have that blood exposed to your bare skin.
Okay.
All right. So, how about this? You take your hands, put your hands down to the ground. Right. Take one hand, pinch the center, and pull it straight down, just like that. Okay. Ball it up. That was great. And then take one finger or two, up underneath, pull it up, turn it inside out. Does that make sense? So now, if you're at home or you're out in the streets or anything like that, can I throw this in the trash can? Absolutely. There's no rules or laws or anything for that. Now, if I was at work and did it, I can give you 100 rules and laws that you just violated. But we're not. If you're out in the streets, you're at home, you're at the movie theaters, you're wherever, and you throw it in the trash, that's perfectly fine. Maybe it's not polite and stuff, because think about it. You ever had like a notepad and you had like a phone number? Oh, I don't need this no more. Throw it away, and then, oh, what was that phone number? And you come back and you go dumpster diving. Because that happens to me all the time. What if there's some cooties on that from that glove? Like, if we're at work, I don't care about HR. I'm going to find you. We're going to use some adult language. I promise to make you cry. I will call Webster's. Hey, I need one of those new words that you've been holding out on. because I got to call this person that, it's kind of selfish, right? You're putting somebody else at risk. What's the best way to dispose of these gloves instead of just throwing them in the regular trash? Ziploc bag, I like that. About a biohazard bag, right? If you have the biohazard bag or Ziploc bag, I'm sorry, if it has blood, or it doesn't have to be blood, it could be vomit, it could be feces, or any sort of bloodborne pathogen. So what she said is, if it has blood, it just doesn't necessarily have to be blood. It could be any of these other things. Yeah, okay? So what's another way to expose? You work on me and the EMTs show up, they're gonna haul me off, right? The fastest way, just put them right on top of the victim. Let EMTs haul me off with them. Does that make sense? Or say, hey, Mr. EMT or ambulance driver man, and I got these gloves, got cooties on them. Can you just, because they all have biohazard containers. Don't throw them in a sharps container. If you do use a sharps container, stick it with your pen. Don't stick your finger in a sharps container. There's these little things called needles. They might hurt, okay? Because I've seen people do that. I've seen police officers do that, okay? Does that make sense? Yes, ma'am.
So if you're camping,
Okay. Yeah.
what if you're camping and you have a fire and someone gets injured,
Okay.
skinning the deer, and you take care of them? Can you throw plastic gloves with blood in the fire, or
Sure.
does that?
Yeah, it's going
Okay.
to disintegrate it, pretty much.
But it won't put off fumes.
No.
Okay.
That's a great question, though. Okay. Now to go to your question, do all plastic gloves work? No. If you're using a food service, you ever go Subway? Anybody like Subway? Because I do. I especially their meatball sandwiches. You know those real thin food service plastic gloves? Probably not going to protect you very long. Probably maybe 5 minutes before a bloodborne pathogen seeps through. So these gloves that are in your packs, they're actually been tested for fentanyl, for biohazards, for other certain chemicals, and it'll protect up to 240 minutes. After that, you need every 200 minutes, I would say, change them, right? If you're going to get gloves, if you're going to use a glove, get something that's a true 5 mil thickness. That's 100% 5 mil. A lot of that, especially at some of the cheaper stores, only the fingertips will be a 5 mil, the rest of the palm will be a 3, but you want to make sure you get something that's a 5 mil.
Is that what this is?
Yes, that's a true 5 mil. So from the tip of the finger all the way down. And they're fentanyl rated. So, nitrile, yes. Latex, you can if you don't have an allergy to latex, but generally it's nitrile, okay? Latex is mostly used in like a chemical resistant type of disposable glove, but you definitely want to use some sort of glove protection. Yes, ma'am.
Well, you know how blood spurts.
Yes, ma'am.
You wear protection on your face. 'Cause
Okay, what she
Get
asked was,
everywhere.
if blood spurts, do we wear protection on our face? When we start to do bleeding control, we're going to talk about that and how it actually works. But yeah, whenever you have the opportunity to wear something over your face to protect, then absolutely, absolutely. It's not a respiratory issue. It's to protect you from being having something into your face or mouth. Does that make sense? Why do doctors wear? Is anybody a doctor? Why do doctors wear masks during surgery? Yep, that's what I say. So why do doctors wear masks? And she said, because they had onions for lunch. Right? No. Exactly, that's it. And what she said was to protect the patient from getting their germs, right? And it's not to protect them from getting cooties or anything like that. It's to protect them from spitting inside the open wound. That's why doctors or surgeons wear some sort of mask. Same thing with dentists. Sometimes when their dentist is working on an individual, moisture will come out, And it could come to them. And generally that's where they get hepatitis from. And it's also to help protect that patient. Does that make sense? Okay. Any questions so far? Yes, sir. So we asked about blood on your clothing. Basically, the only thing I can tell you with that, if you do have, it all depends how much and what it's from. If it's from a crime scene, it's probably going to be taken into evidence. But if it's, say, your own, that's fine. Just keep it to yourself. Don't share it with anybody else. But if it's, say, I worked on Beth, and she has blood all over her clothing, I have her blood on mine, I'm probably going to get rid of it just as quick as possible. And I'm going to use soap, warm water. A really good soap is like, it's a degreasing soap, antibacterial soap. And then I'm also going to use some sort of cleansing wash that has isopropyl alcohol in it. And every little cut and nick I have, it's going to show up, and I'm going to fill it. And so because it has that alcohol, there's an antibacterial wash you can use that has isopropyl alcohol. So you can clean up, but that's the best way. Dispose of that, put it in a bag, and dispose of it wherever, like with the hospital there, or something like that.
Say have your gloves on when you're disposing of bloody clothes before you take your gloves off.
Yes.
Beth is a nurse.
Yes, I forgot. So that's a great question. I love it. I love that. Yes, sir.
I do high school sports.
Oh, so you really know.
Well, if any blood gets on any uniform, you have to change it.
So is that the policy?
No, that's I officiate. If I see any signs of blood on any uniform, you're out until you change that. So you can't wash it, come back and play.
Okay, so that's a rule.
Yeah, that's rules.
So is that a state rule?
That's
like a Utah high school
across the country.
Okay.
Any blood, and then players that maybe scrape on their elbow, any kind of boom.
They have to get treated?
Yep. Right out of the game. You have to leave the game immediately and get that treated and make sure it's treated properly, and then you can come back.
That's amazing. I did not know that.
Yes.
They required that.
We watch the athletes all the any blood.
Oh, I bet.
Any blood.
Especially in football or
football.
soccer and all that. Any sport, I guess.
It's in a lot of sports.
Yeah. Wrestling. Yeah, especially wrestling. Can you tell I'm from Georgia? Wrestling. I still remember that WWE or F or whatever it's called. But that's awesome. Thank you. I did not know that. I just learned something tonight. That's awesome. Thank you very much. All right. So now, you guys, any other questions? You guys, did I lose you already? Have you learned anything yet? Cool. That's kind of the name of the game, right? That's why you're here. Okay, let's talk about, let's look. No, that's not what I wanted. That's not what I wanted. That's what I wanted. Let's talk about your roles and responsibilities.
A trained first aid provider must be able to recognize, assess, and prioritize the need for first aid. Doing so requires being able to recognize life-threatening conditions. There are situations where time is of the essence, and delays can lead to serious, even fatal consequences. Life-threatening conditions include unresponsiveness, severe external bleeding, shock, altered mental status, difficulty or no breathing, choking, stroke, and chest pain or discomfort. Other warning signs and symptoms of a life-threatening condition include coughing or vomiting blood, persistent vomiting, head injury, seizures, poisoning, severe allergic reaction, or major broken bones. Recognizing the signs and symptoms of a life-threatening condition and taking quick, effective action can potentially save the life of a loved one, a colleague, a stranger, and maybe even yourself. A trained first aid provider must provide care using appropriate skill competencies. Skill competency in first aid is the ability to use first aid knowledge and skills confidently and effectively. Learning, practicing, and using step-by-step procedures for handling life-threatening conditions will help you develop competency in first aid. Recognizing your limitations means acknowledging the limits of what you know and what you can do. Failing to recognize your limitations has the potential to cause harm. A first aid provider should never go beyond the knowledge and skill competence they have learned and demonstrated in training. Know your limits and seek additional professional help when needed.
All right, so your roles. So as a, say you're, all right, first of all, what do you think your role is as a provider? You decide to help somebody. What do you think your role is? What's your role? It's real simple. I'm sorry? Do no harm, is what she said. Yeah, that's one. I like that. I'm sorry? Call for help. Love that. That's your number one, call for help. Okay? Always get EMS coming as fast as soon as you possibly can. Yes, ma'am.
I had an incident in Tacoma, Washington when I was trying to connect with a friend of mine who had my keys. And I had just come back from Utah. And I went by his house on the way to church, and his car was still there. I'm like, that is weird, because I'd been trying to get a hold of him for the last 3 days. And as I was waiting for the bus to get to church, I had a strong impression that he had gone. But I didn't want to go. I'd already been twice and didn't find him. But I got someone at church to come with me to go search, and we found him deceased in his backyard.
Oh, shoot, I'm sorry.
But we did that. My friend, she called immediately to 911, and the ambulance came, and we also called the ecclesiastical leaders.
Oh, great. So that's your first thing, your role. Is one, to determine what's going on, right? Call EMS. The second part of it is to make sure it's safe for you to approach. This is one of the most crucial things that you'll need to do whenever you're working on anybody. And when we talk about during CPR or the advanced bleeding control, or even during the active violence classes, before you approach somebody, you got to make sure it's safe for who? You, because you're the number one person, right? You guys all have friends. If you don't, let me know, I'll be your friend. All right? You have family? You have loved ones, right? Do you want them to be notified? Hey, Carrie's wife, Mary Jane, he went running in and tripped over a extension cord to go help somebody who wasn't paying attention and got crushed by a pallet of Tupperware. Right? Could happen. Never can tell. What if it's electrical? Can you see electrical? Sometimes. You can see it burning, you can see it smoldering, or the person, right? What if it's a gas? Can you smell every gas out there? No. What if it's, say, something on a pallet overhead? You ever been to Walmart or Costco, see how high they stack that stuff? What you want to do is keep from being that second victim. So what I'm asking you, whenever you go render aid on somebody, stop for 5 seconds, 10 seconds. Just look to see what it is, what's going on. Does that make sense? Anybody have questions about that? Doesn't mean take your phone out and videotape it and then go, oh yeah, hey, there's that, why, ooh, man, they should have took that trash out. No, none of that. Just stop, make sure, look, just make sure there's something that's not there that's going to cause you to be a second victim, right? Responsibilities. What do you think your responsibility is? To render aid, right? Decide, you have a role, you call 911, you made it seen as safe, so you decide to approach. Your responsibility is, I'm sorry, what was your name? Emily? I like that name, it's a nice name. Hi, Emily, my name's Carrie. I'm trying to help. Are you okay?
Yes.
It looked like you stubbed your big toe. That hurts.
I'll have help.
You'll have help?
I'll take help.
Okay. So is there anything I can help you with or anything?
Help me stop the bleeding.
Stop the bleeding? Okay. You got an ingrown toenail? I got it. Same thing. All right. But how do you feel now?
Yeah, you're a little closer.
Oh, what?
You're a little
Emily, we can get.
You're a little intimidating.
All right. Is that what you want to be? No. Don't be that person that has to get up. Hey, you still put your finger back in it. Don't be that. Hey, Chris, my name's Carrie. I'm trying to help. Can I help you? You look like you hurt. And he says yes. So, da-da-da-da-da. So I'm going to ask him one more time. What's your name? Crystal. Crystal, hey, I saw you fall. Looks like your help. Is it okay if I help you? She says yes.
Yes.
Okay. Hey, do you know what day of the week it is?
Sometimes.
Sometimes, yeah. So in my older days, it would depend, well, how much beer and whiskey I had. Is it beer 30? Is that what you're saying? No. So, do you know what day of the week it is?
I do.
Okay.
It's Tuesday.
All right. Do you know where you're at?
Yes. I'm at Food Storage Depot.
Nice. Are you hurting anywhere?
Yeah.
All over, right? Okay. Well, I saw you fall on your back. Is it okay if I take a look?
Yeah.
And she says, yeah. So now I'm going to start to examine, right? And I'll ask at this point if I can touch her to feel here. Does this hurt? Is this tender? She's going to say yes, ow, or whatever. Does that make sense? Am I just going, oh, geez, man?
That looks really bad.
Yeah.
You're probably in a lot of pain.
Yeah.
Good luck with
Does that hurt? Does that hurt? Yeah. Right? No, you don't want to do that. That's not your responsibility. Your responsibility is to first assess. Hey, what's going on? Da, 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 da. Does that make sense? We're going to get into all the blood and guts in a second, but the reason we do this, because I have literally seen police officers, firefighters, EMTs just run up and, oh my gosh. Oh. I have personally seen that, especially working in corrections. Oh man, we don't have enough time on that, but I've seen some bad stuff, okay? Yes, ma'am.
You're really good at sticking up right in people's faces. As a mom, I always
Congratulations.
Thank you. I always had burgundy colored washcloths so that when the kids got bloody, they couldn't see the blood.
That's because you're a loving mom.
Well, no, because I grew up with the mom that I grew up with. But then the other thing would be saying, okay, you're doing you're handling this really well. Good job. That kind of thing.
Where were you when I was growing up? Man, that's awesome. I love that though, right? Compassion. Is it okay? Is it a weakness to show compassion to the victim? No, right? Is it okay to show some empathy, some care? Absolutely, because why? They're scared. And I guarantee you, when somebody's in an injury like that, and you have their stress level up to here, what do you think is coming? Cardiac arrest. Shock. You're going to take somebody and a lot of times it's embarrassment from victims. They'll be embarrassed. Oh, I slipped. Oh, God, nobody saw me. Oh, I'm going to be on America's Funniest Videos, right? Or they're going to make some meme about me or something like that, or whatever they call those things. Or you'll be on a TikTok thing, but you got to control that stress. You have to control those emotions because cardiac arrest is coming if you don't. Does that make sense? Especially in a bleeding control issue. If it's a major arterial laceration,
Try to bring the heart rate down.
right, stand up for a second. Thanks. Come on up, Crystal. All right, look at no, I'm not. I'm sorry if I hurt you.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I'm a wimp. You can punch me back if you need to. Okay. Look at Crystal, look at myself. If we had the same artery that we lacerated, who would bleed out first? Crystal or me? Who says her? Raise your hand. All right?
That's my guess.
Your guess? You think so? All right. What about me? Who says I would? Man, only one person, two? Geez, thanks for being on my team. How long does it take an average person to bleed out if it's an artery?
2 minutes?
About 3 is the average.
Okay.
Okay? Look at her. She looks pretty fit. All right, look at me. You want the side view? I can give you the 3D view. All right? Look, if it's not smothered and covered with sausage gravy, I am not having it. That is just cruel and unusual punishment, not to serve it with sausage gravy. Okay? And because of that, you can sit back down. Thank you. Because of that, my heart, guess what? It has to work twice as fast. I guarantee if we both took our resting heart rates right now, you'd probably be in maybe high 40s, mid 50s, 60s if you had caffeine. Mine, I'm going to be about 112, maybe higher. Okay, and I mean, because my heart, hers bump, bump, bump. Mine's going, not to mention like I had a 5 hour and I had like, where is it? I'm almost done with that one. Diet Pepsi, all that.
So it doesn't have to do with the size of the person. It has to
nothing.
do with how healthy they are.
Exactly, how fast that heart's going, that heart rate is. So she would probably bleed out 2 to 3 minutes. Guess how long it would be for me? 45 seconds to a minute, maybe a minute and a half, if I'm lucky, if I said my prayers right to that day.
So what do you do?
That's a great question.
What do? I got 45 seconds. What do I do?
Just saved my life.
Yes.
So what's more important? If I go into cardiac arrest right now, boop, drop and go into cardiac arrest, how long do you think you have to get a defibrillator on me and save my life?
2 minutes.
10.
Okay.
About 10 is the average.
Well, don't you have to stop the bleeding
Come on, you're almost there.
first?
Yes, if it's an injury,
I'm not going to go get my gloves.
right?
Like, if you're bleeding to death in 45 seconds, I'm not going to be like, hold on,
Okay.
I got to go get my gloves.
All right, so now grab a gauze pad, couple of them out of your packs. And let's do some compression of blood, of injuries. Yeah. So what she said is one of the reasons to keep them calm is because we can control that heart rate. And that's absolutely correct. Because they're already freaking out a little bit, right? Okay, everybody got up one or two of them out? If you cut yourself, let me know when you do. It's all right, just raise it up. You don't have to take them out. You can just use them without it. Just these gauze pads, the square gauze pads. They'll look like this, sterile gauze pads. You can use it with the paper on, off, I don't care. So, if you had to apply pressure to yourself, show me. Put your gauze pad on, show me how you would apply pressure. Just doesn't matter where, show me how. Do it harder. Harder. Nope. Elevation has nothing to do with it. Nope. Pressure. It's all pressure. Harder. Harder than that. Harder than that. Can you hold that for 3 minutes? Okay, go ahead and relax. No, not yet. We're just applying pressure. Could you hold that amount of pressure for 3 minutes? And I'm sorry if you guys out in TV land, I can't see you, but I'm sure you probably weren't enough, but okay. If you're trying to do this, can you hold that pressure for 3 minutes? Hey, I know most athletes that can't even do that, okay? But let's learn something new. How about it? Okay, take your hand. These fingers, I don't care, left or right, doesn't matter. Make a little blade. Anybody ever in the military? Anybody went to boot camp? What is this? That means which way you go. If you went to basic training, this was an international sign that either one, you were a screw up, or two, you had to go that way, or you had to go that way. But every DI I've ever met in my entire life had this hand. It's called the blade. right? We want to use these top of the fingers right here. Put your gauze pad and push down. Wow, look at that. Jiminy Cricket. Feel that? Do you think you could hold that much pressure for 3 minutes? Absolutely, right? You're using 95% less energy than doing this by the simple method of applying pressure. How cool is that? Just like that. I'm sorry? Yeah, let me show you another one. Okay, so glad you said that. She said, lady with nails, it doesn't work. Let me show you another one. Now, it only works on the arm. Okay, you can't do it on the throat or femoral artery or any of that. So, have your gauze pad. You're going to take this part of your fingers right here, the bottom part, it doesn't matter left or right. You're going to put it right here on the arm, take your thumb up underneath and squeeze down. It's called a C-clamp. Just like that. Feel the difference? A lot easier than having to do this or trying to use your knee or elbow. Not to mention the bad thing about knees and elbows, they move. If you're like me, you got all this extra skin because I like everything smothered and covered, and it moves. So it's hard to control that pressure, right? Besides, we'll never teach anymore to use pressure points. We don't teach that anymore because 99.9% of the population has no idea where all the pressure points are, okay? But this way, tips of the finger, if you have nails, the best way, here, but it only works on the forearm or on the arm itself. It's not going to be very effective unless you have big hands to wrap it all the way around the thigh. Does that make sense? Yes, ma'am.
So what happens if the injury is too big for fingertips to cover it and stop the bleeding?
That's a great question. Let's learn. Okay, so now remember, to stop the bleed, if it's an artery, how do you know if it's an artery? Tell me. Squirts with every heartbeat, right? Okay, of all my life in law enforcement, I have never seen somebody get an arterial, even the brachial plexus, or anything, and it squirts halfway across the room. That's Hollywood. I've never seen that personally. Now, I have seen people that they'll get an arterial in their neck or whatever and slap their hand around and splatter. I've seen that thousands of times. But for somebody to get a gunshot wound or get their neck cut or their artery or any of that and just go squish, squish, I've never seen that. Maybe 8 inches, 10 at the most. Now, how do you know if it's an artery? It's squirting, right? What's another indicator? It's bright red. But what happens as soon as that bright red blood hits air? I mean, the millisecond turns dark red, right? So what I want to ask you now, don't look for the color, look for the squirt. Does that make sense? If you look for the squirt, you'll realize what it is faster. Okay, so we'll say it's in the arm. So you lacerated arm. What do you think, what tools would you have? Now remember, a belt? No. You're going to use a tourniquet. So on a tourniquet, thanks for volunteering. No, are you sure? All right. Okay, so with a tourniquet, to stop the bleed if it's arterial, this is the fastest way. Now this is a windlass tourniquet. This is called the windlass bar. This is the windlass strap. This is the pull tab. This is a compression strap. This is the compression band right here. This is where all the magic happens. This is the windlass lock, and this is the tab, okay? So now, if any of you guys are ladies are pregnant, please don't do this because it could cause damage, but you're not pregnant, are you? No. Okay. All right, okay, so if her laceration's here, where do I want to put the tourniquet? I'm sorry? High high up on the limb. We used to teach, take this tourniquet and put it 3 or 4 inches above that injury and then apply pressure. Well, we don't, because the chances of that individual losing that limb is pretty high, even after an hour. Now, because of what we learned from the war, put it up high as you can, not on the shoulder, high as you can, pull it tight. And what I'm doing is twisting. I'm not going to, now if it's too hard to say stop, okay? All right, so now say I got it, the bleeding stopped, right? And I can look, I can see now that flush is, she's talking to me. Well, she won't be talking to me. She'll be, man, she's going to be mad. Okay, now I pull the tab over. I want to write the time. Why do you think that's important? So the reason we put these up here now and the reason these type of tourniquets are being used, because it can be on here 6 to 8 hours and still possibly save that limb, depending on the type of injury, because of how it is. We get the bleeding to stop up high. Can you turn sideways a second? So we get the bleeding to stop up here. Does that make sense? Using a windlass tourniquet. Yes, ma'am.
If you have some kind of a marker, it's a good idea to put a T on their forehead because they may have a blanket over them. And, you know, they may not.
Well, when they pull that over, they're going to see this no matter what. But yes, if that's, yeah, absolutely. And what she asks is if she has some sort of covering, a blanket on or something like that, are we going to, can we use a marker and put on the forehead the time or a T, right? So if you do that, you got to remember, wipe that forehead off, because what comes out of our skin? Sweat and oil, right? And if you use just certain markers, all it does is just smear. So get an alcohol pad or something, wipe it off real good, and then put T and put whatever time. So I'm gonna do one more step I wanna ask you to start to do. If the person's coherent and they can talk and they're willing, after you write the time, ask them what their blood type is, if it's possible. And the reason is until they get to the hospital and they can see, say, O negative, it tells them, until they can verify the blood type, it tells them how much plasma they can give them. Does that make sense? So by doing that, now.
What if I don't have one of these?
It's a great thing.
I don't carry one of these around with me regularly.
Why not?
Because I'm a mom and my purse is full and the more things I have to carry.
Okay, all right, have a seat for a second. That's a great question. So she asked, what if I don't have a tourniquet? What can I use? Da, 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 da. Anything, really, except for something thin. No extension cords, no bungee cords, no shoelaces, anything. Because I've actually seen them cut right through the arm and actually literally cut the bone off right through. So don't use anything like that. So what do you use? Any guesses? Belt, no. And well, it all depends. If it's a nylon, she said belt. So she said, now if it's a leather belt like mine, absolutely not, because you can't get the twist, can't get the compression down. Yes, ma'am. I'm sorry?
Rip a piece of clothing.
What part?
I don't know.
The sleeve. The sleeve. So she said rip a piece of clothing off. Sleeve works really good. Now, if you're working on somebody and they have long sleeves on like this gentleman does, you're going to have to rip that off, okay? Don't try to stand there and take time and rip the shirt off. Just pull that sleeve down, open that up. Because that tourniquet, whichever, if it's a commercial tourniquet or improvised one, has to have that skin to compress down on. Does that make sense? Now, a windlass tourniquet, to get back to what you're saying, what if you don't have one? You can use a belt. You can use tourniquet or triangular bandages. You can use, towels. Anything, I'm sorry? Yeah, I've used the bandana if you can get it, because sometimes they might be short, but you need to make sure it's long enough, okay? So, yes, ma'am.
How do you know if it's tight enough? Like, how do you know?
Oh, you're going to know. First of all, when you put a tourniquet on, it's the most excruciating thing you're going to ever experience. Think of this. You heard this old story, the lifeguard going out to help save that drowning person, and it gets out there to help that person. The next thing you know, they're pounding on them, trying to use that person as a buoy. This is going to be the same type of thing. they're going to talk about your mom, your dog, your cat, all your kids. And not to mention, they're going to be punching on you at the same time. I've never applied a tourniquet to anybody that was not excruciating pain. So it hurts. And once you see that blood to stop and they're still talking, that's when you know that it's on correct, right? Now, you have these things called triangular bandages. If you go ahead and pull one out, it's in your bag. Yep, no. It's in the right there. Come here, Beth. Please. Watch your step behind you. Don't trip. Okay, go ahead. Once you get it out, fold it like this. Have it out. Well, don't let go of it while you're doing it. Dad, burn it. I know. Yeah. Glad we knew her. Jeez. All right. So once you have it, go ahead and fold it. You can flop it up just like that. Make a kind of a rope out of it or something. Let me borrow your arm. And then I'm going to pull it up. And the first thing I'm going to do is pull it tight. I'm going to pull it very tight. Okay. When I pull it tight, I'm going to pull this knot. All right. Now, what if you don't have a stick? What if you're out in the woods and you don't have a stick? You can't find something. Everybody generally has a pin. Okay. Make sure it's at least 8 to 10 inches. And so I'm going to take this pin. And I'm going to tie it in, except for when it does that. I'm going to tie it in. I'm going to pull it tight. And now I'm going to twist. Say when.
Yeah, that's good.
So now, once I got it, I'm going to come back around and I'm going to tie it off so it doesn't come loose. Yeah. That's how you make an improvised tourniquet. Now, what else if you don't have triangular bandage? What else can you use? I'm sorry? A bandana, towel, socks. Thanks, sis. You just want to make sure it's not something that's going to be thin like this, like an extension cord or anything like that. It's going to at least be able to apply that pressure and be able to be at least an inch wide. Does that make sense? Okay. Don't throw these away yet because we're going to use them again. Now, what do you think is... Yes, ma'am.
I have a question on
Yes,
the
ma'am.
cats. Does it matter if you buy the real McCoy cat versus the knockoffs? Because there's such a price difference.
Yeah, there is, right? Where did I just put it at? Oh, it's right here. Okay, so this is a cat style, right? This is actually made by a medical provider. So I'll just go, I was going to say this till later, but I'll get it out there since you asked. Please do not buy this crap off of Amazon or some fly-by-night type of whatever. eBay, Amazon, with the cats, the problem is there's so much fraud with medical devices like this. You don't know what you're going to get, okay? Come here, talk to a responsible dealer that's an authorized distributor. I use these because, one, the cost compared to a cat, because it's like buying a Cadillac compared to whatever, you're paying mostly for the name, and they're made basically by the same company. And so that's why I use these. Now, these tourniquets, once you're applied, think of this. If you had a tourniquet on and it's excruciating, what does your brain tell you? Take it off. Get away from that pain, right? 70% of the failures of a windlass tourniquet after it's been applied is because the wearer, the victim, ow, 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 and And by the time they realize what it is, what occurred, they've bled out. Okay? You want to fix that? You want to know how? Anybody want to volunteer? Winner, chicken dinner, going once, going twice. I just need one, somebody. Don't everybody, just come on up. All right, so let me show you a couple new inventions in the world of tourniquets. You ever had a cell phone? Right? How many times have you upgraded that in your life? Many times, right? Technology changes, even in the world of medicine and the world of saving people's lives. So let me show you something cool. Let me just get it ready. I'm sorry. So this is called a rapid stop. It's one of my favorite tourniquets. Okay. So you slide it on, pull it tight.
It's just pinching.
Sorry. Sorry.
Let me pull my sleeve out.
Oh, sorry.
Okay.
All right.
There we go.
Okay. Say when. Turn around sideways.
Okay. All right, somebody else is volunteering in.
Okay, now try to take it off without just sliding it down because I don't have it tight.
Okay.
Just try to take it off.
Oh, that makes it tighter.
That makes it tighter, she said.
I can't do it.
Can't do it. Okay.
It's back there. If he can't get it off, we have a problem.
So it's kind of like
There
a
you go.
handcuff.
Thank you. All right. I remember the first time I had this on, my arm was purple. I could not figure out how to get it off. And I had called my rep, and he's a friend of mine. And you know how our friends are. He's like, he was recording because I was FaceTiming it. And he kind of sent it back to me. And I literally had to take my shears and cut it off. And then finally he walked me through how to take it off. It's called a rapid stop. R-A-P-I-D-S-T-O-P. It's one of my favorite ones. Now, I'm pretty proficient with tourniquets. With a windlass tourniquet, I can get the bleeding stop 10, 12 seconds. With a rapid stop, 8 to 10 seconds. I'm pretty fast with them because I train and I teach and all that and practice with it every day. But you can't use this or this on a child or infant because it won't compress down to 2 inches. So what if it's a child or an infant? What do? 3 fingers, hold it in, apply that pressure, use some hemostatic gauze, whatever, right? Can't use quick clock or knee stat on an infant. What else? Here's my friend. Come on up. Come on up. Thanks. How do you say it? Rena? Rhea, right? Everybody say hi, Rhea. All right. So let's fix that problem. This is my favorite tourniquet at all. It's called the X8T. I love it. Love it, love it, love it. It's the only tourniquet that's manufactured that you could actually use on a child and infant. So in my world, OSHA and ANSI sets all the rules. In the medical world, it's ASTM. And hopefully July, they'll have the actual ASTM study back. And so I have the ASTM. But it has an FDA approval. Ooh, that's pretty cool. Let me show you how it works. Hi. Thanks for having these tiny arms. Come on. I'll just put it here. So I don't want to put it up too high. Just pull it tight. See, she has a small arm. Look at this. It's a stop, just like that. And that's a dial. Now without just sliding it, try to take it off. Without sliding. All right. Is it getting tighter?
I can't tell.
You can't tell? If it's clicking, it's getting tighter. Oops. You might have a new piece of drill. Can we get on? And it has a little clip right here, hidden away. And ta-da! Look at that. Now, thanks. You're the best. Everybody, round of applause. What a hero. Now, this is, yes, ma'am. You can. Well, that's a personal choice. So, you guys see these two ladies right here? 3? Talk to them. So, it's called an X8T. Yep. X8T. Yep.
More expensive.
No, they're about the same. About $39, $40. X8T. Yep. Love them. It's my favorite tourniquet. Now, the other cool thing is, somebody that's a hemophilia or on blood thinners, a couple of these works very effective. Stuff like that. Plus a couple other things. Okay? Oh, we still have to play. We still have a couple more things. All right, let's talk about, what's an injury that you think that happens, that could happen to you while you're outside? I'm sorry? Burns. Let's talk about burns. All right. Take your other gauze roll. Take both of them out. Is there any part of the body a burn does not affect? No. It don't care, right? I'm going to show you something really cool to help first with the treatment of somebody that's at a burns. You ever seen a burn victim in their hands kind of like clubbed together? A lot of that is because they couldn't get the digits separated. And here's an easy way of doing that. If you're dealing with somebody with a hand, a burn, take this gauze roll, the whole thing. Do not wet it. Just like that. And you do that in between every digit that's there that you possibly can. By doing this, you've already started their treatment to recovery by doing that. It's a huge deal. Separate those. Now, if it is a hand and they have a ring on, and you can, and when you pull it, it's not pulling the skin away, go ahead and take it off. But if it is, you start seeing that separation of the skin, stop. Let them, once they get to the hospital, they have ring cutters, let them take it off, okay? Now, with a burn, they have these different type of products. There's all sorts. They have actually some pretty cool stuff, actually. I have to use this one because it's OSHA approved and ANSI approved. It's called Zero Burn. I like it. This is a burn pad. When you take a burn pad, who wants to get slimy? Come on up. Yep. Oh, yeah, this works really good. You're really good. On your arm? Right there? Okay. Where's that trash can? Okay. Go ahead and put your arm over that. So, you have an ABD pad in your kit. Okay, it's called a combine pad. It works really good for burns, whether it's heat or chemical. But you take this burn pad, open it up. Only throw this away first. You're going to pull this gel pad out. And immediately what it does, it starts pulling the heat out. Don't throw this away yet. So now I'm either going to wrap it with some gauze or I'm going to put that ABD pad on. Will you hold that for a second?
Does it feel better? That's a little cooling sensation.
And I'm going to roll it just like that. Okay? And then we'll just say I have it all rolled, okay? We'll just tuck it right there. If there's any liquid left, I'm going to pour on top of this, and this one's not. And so I'm going to pour any liquid on top, and then I'm going to take the rest of my gauze roll and roll it back, or I'm going to take my combine pad, put on top, and roll it up. Does that make sense? I promise you, if you leave it there for about a half hour, it'll feel a lot better. Go ahead. There you go. You can have all that. It's all yours. free of charge. So with the burn pads, they're phenomenal. Now, if you're using a burn pad like that, that's pretty much a trip to the hospital if it's on a heat burn. Now, sunburn is different, right? Use some common sense with that. They also have the gel that they use for that in little individual packs. Those are for minor burns. Does that make sense? So you put it on there. I'm sorry? It's called burn gel. Yeah. Zero burn. It's awesome. It's a great product. So that's pretty much. Now, if it's a chemical burn, let's talk about that because there's a big difference. So let's shift from heat burns, flames, to a chemical burn. What do you think a chemical burn comes from? I'm sorry? Chemicals. What kind? Bleach? I'm sorry? Acids. Bleach, acids, what else? Does it have to be a liquid? No, right? Sorry, my knee just kind of popped. No, it could be a powder. But with some powders, if you do this, that causes it to ignite. So if you're messing with chemicals, make sure you read the SDS sheet and make sure it's not something that air comes with or anything like that. Or say if it's a strange chemical, it's a powder form you're not aware of, call somebody. Call the fire department, call the police, somebody, have them come check it out. Does that make sense? Now, if it's a chemical, what's the best way? What's the very first thing? First of all, check, make sure if it's a chemical that it can actually use a liquid. Because some chemicals, even if they're liquids, once they're applied water to it, because what's in water, oxygen, right, causes it to ignite. So you need to be aware of the type of chemical. So if it's a foreign chemical you're not 100% about, before you add treatment, get somebody else to come too. Does that make sense? So how do you treat that? If it's an acid, what do? What's a good remedy for acids?
Baking powder.
Baking powder. Not milk. No milk. Don't. Well, baking powder, if it's an acid, to begin with. Okay? After that, then you can go in and you can use like a buffered acetone solution. Now, if you're looking at, yes, ma'am.
Soda.
Baking soda. That's what I meant. Sorry. Baking soda. Great question. She asked if it was a baking powder or baking soda. It's baking soda. All right, so say I got a pretty good caustic acid burn right here. I want to make sure I'm using a buffered acetone solution, not sterile water. Buffered acetone, what it does, it's actually treated, the isoline is actually treated to deactivate chemicals. It's way simple. Now, they come in all different sizes. This is just a little 4 ounce. And I can use it on burns. I can use it on my skin. I can use it on my eyes, my mouth, the whole 9 yards. And what I want to do is take it and just nice little stream, okay? I don't want to sit there, force it all out. I just want a nice little stream to cause it to start the deactivation of that chemical. Does that make sense? It's buffered acetone solution. Now, you can use sterile saline. It'll work, but it'll take longer. This, I actually seen a guy get sulfuric acid in his mouth from a battery. Knock it, just like that, right in his mouth. It's water, it's treated water. It's just saline, but it's been treated down to a finer particle that actually causes the chemical to dissolve. Does that make sense? Buffered acetone solution. That's the best, most effective way.
Are you saying something you might find in your bathroom from a nasal congestion experience, those saline?
No, not like that.
No.
So it's a saline eye wash solution.
Okay, but the saline no solution isn't a substitute.
I don't know. I'd have to look
pinch?
and
I
see
don't
what
know.
that.
Okay.
If you can go online and type in like the brand, whatever it is, because this is actually a great question, probably one of the best ones I've ever had. And pull up the SDS, the safety data sheet, and it'll tell you everything that you could actually use that product for. That's a fantastic question. So you understand about burns? Any questions? Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. No, you're just going to put right in there. So what she asks is if she puts the gauze, do I wrap it individually? No, just put it in there, and then you're going to wrap around it. Yep. Yep. All that. I want those separated if possible. Now, if you do happen to pull that out a little and you see the skin tear, stop. Because one, they're going to be like, ah! But the other reason it's just cruel and unusual. Just stop, wrap it, move on to the next one that's open. Does that make sense? So you don't want this. Now, you can do it behind the ears. You can do this with any part of the body that has the skin that folds together. The groin area, the buttocks area, the lower back, the ears, the neck, any part. Does that make sense? Toes, behind the knees, armpits, or joints, armpits, in here. Put anything like that you can to separate them. Because it can cause immediate infections, and depends on if it's if the water's treated a certain way. Say it's chlorinated water, it can actually cause more infection and cause more pain on it. So that's a great question, though.
So, is there anything that we can do? Let's say I don't have the burn pad, and we've already separated all of the folding places, but there's like a large flat area that's burned. Do we need to cover that to prevent infection, or is it better to not cover it with anything?
At that point, just leave it uncovered. If you do see pieces of clothing, if you can remove that if it doesn't pull the skin back. But other than that, just leave it open, leave it exposed, and just make sure you get EMS coming as fast as you possibly can and stuff. They make burn blankets that you can actually wrap around the face. That's probably my number one selling burn blankets is that, especially for campers, because little kids, they fall, hands in the fire, that one there. So, but that's a great question. Thank you. What else? Any other comments on burns? Did I answer your question, ma'am, on the burns? Did I address it correctly? Okay, great. What about eyes? Because this is one everybody overlooks. Because you might wear glasses, you might not. What if you get an impaled object in the eye? I'm sorry? Right? So if you got, I actually seen this is why. The guy was weed eating, didn't have glasses on or any eye protection, and a stick come up right in his eye. And actually, it's more common than you would think. An impaled object in the eye. Who wants to volunteer? Just somebody. It don't matter. Don't be shy. Somebody new. Thank you. Come on up. You're either one. I don't care. Come on up. Besides, we're going to mess up your beautiful hair. Okay. What do you think happens to the eye when you get an impaled object in it? What do you think happens? Swells. Yeah, one. What else? There's a hole, right? Should you pull that thing out? Probably not. Don't recommend that. Okay. So, if you don't have iPads and you have the stick sticking, is it okay? Are you sure? All right. Okay.
Don't mess up my best.
I won't. Do me a favor if you hold that. Okay. So, I don't have anything to put over her eyes, or do I? I have a cup. And this is where a lot of people miss the target on. Set that right there. So the reason we want to cover the dominant eye, the uninjured eye first, because when you say I had something stuck in nail in this eye is going to be moving. And every time this moves up, down, left, right, whatever, the one that has the injury is going to be moving. And I want to prevent that from moving. So we'll just say her left eye is her free eye. We're going to take this cup and go ahead and hold that up just like that. And I'm going to start here around your chin. I'm sorry if it's uncomfortable, but I promise this works. Unfortunately, I've had to do it myself. Okay, look up. Now, I'm not doing this for cosmetic by them, right? So anyways, what I'm going to do is I'm going to cover this eye, right? Then I'm going to do the same thing and I'm going to cover this eye. Does that make sense? So she's going to have these two horns sticking out of her eyes. Does that make sense? Just like that, right? What I'm doing is preventing the injured eye from actually becoming more injured, because believe it or not, they can, when they get to the surgeon, they can literally just pull that out, fix that retina. As long as it doesn't go too far back, they 100% fix that. Does that make sense? So you want to wrap it, and then once it's secure, because I guarantee you right now, it wouldn't be, right? Until I put the next one on, then I cover that, and then I go around from that. Does that make sense? Now, of course.
Why do you have to put a cup over both eyes? Why can't you just cover the one eye that doesn't have something in it?
Because you have to protect that injured eye too from further damage. Thank you very much. Does that make sense?
Well, if you have
I know what you're thinking.
Okay.
All right. So what you're asking is, why wouldn't I just cover the uninjured eye? Because this eye is covered, I'm not moving it, right? Is that what you're asking?
Like, do I have to use two sticking out objects, or
Yes.
could I just put something dark enough over this?
No, because this eye is still going to be moving. The uninjured eye, even with the cup on it and blacked out, is still going to be moving, which is causing the injured eye to move.
Okay.
Does that make sense? This eye's covered, you're still moving it around, your pupil, all that, your eye's moving.
Okay.
And this is still moving to follow it.
Okay.
Now, this eye that's uncovered, that's injured, because this is covered, is straining more to see and cause.
No, what I'm asking is, you said both eyes have to be covered.
Correct.
So why do I have to use a cup on both? Why can't I put a
Oh, you
patch?
can use, I'm just
on
saying if you
one?
didn't have eye patches,
Okay.
or if you had a stick.
Or just use this to
Yeah,
without.
but if there's a stick or nail, you don't want this on top of that.
Of the injured.
Of the injured eye, because that's going to go right through and then it's going to get snaggled in there,
Okay.
and it's going to be a mess. So you want to use a cup.
Okay.
Now, say if I just got splinters in my eye, or I got a piece of metal or something else, yeah, I can put an eye patch right over, wrap it around, get me to the doctor. Does that make sense? Or if it's a chemical injury or anything else like that. That's a great question. I like it. What else?
Oh, I had a question from before. I'm sorry.
Oh,
I'm
you're good.
I'm sorry. And you're welcome. If a person is burned, but they also have smoke inhalation and require some CPR,
Yes.
is that safe to do when they're burned, but you can see that they're not?
Okay, that's a
breathing?
great one. That's probably the best question I've ever had when it comes to this. I mean, it's awesome. So we'll say the torso is burned, okay? And the person has smoke inhalation, they go into cardiac arrest, because this happens, right? Hopefully somebody's going to be there with this AED, okay? So understand one thing. If I go into cardiac arrest right now, you could do chest compressions on me all day long for the next year. You will never bring me back. You have to have a defibrillator to get me out of cardiac arrest. Because what the heart is going right now, well, mine's a little faster because I'm fat, and it's doing this. But when I'm in cardiac arrest, it's this. It's unable to push oxygenated blood throughout the brain and the body and vital organs. That's where we come in, doing chest compressions. Now, what our question was, if somebody is a burn victim and they have burn on their torso, do we still do chest compressions? Absolutely. What's the first thing you want to have? The pulse, right? What? Other than that, what's the first thing you want to have? The really cheap gloves, right? Thank you, right? So put gloves on. What's going to happen? The skin, every time you do a chest compression, it's going to separate. It's going to be a bloody mess. I'll just tell you now. If they're unconscious, they're not coming out, right? They're going to probably stay unconscious for a while because they're in cardiac arrest. Now, once you get defibrillator on it, pop, pop, they might come out of it. It all depends, but it depends on the nature of the burn also. But whenever it's time, it doesn't matter if it's a burn. It could be, it could be almost anything, really, that could cause that separation of cartilage and separation of skin. Now, unfortunately, I have seen younger people make the decision. They put these little things in their chest and they screw like spikes or something in it. I don't know what they call it. But anyways, if they have that, you can't use a defibrillator because it'll arc. So, but we can get in that. If you do the CPR class, we'll get down that. So that's a fantastic question. I love it. What else you guys have? Yes, ma'am. Shock. I'm sorry?
Shock and walking wounded.
What do you mean walking wounded? Kind of explain.
It's the stress that you experience, say if there's a disaster.
Okay.
And there are people that just kind of walk around and you can't.
Okay, you mean like a zombie?
Yeah, zombie.
Okay.
Zombie.
Doing the zombie walk. Okay.
You have to put you have to destroy their brain.
That's it. Okay. So what her question was, somebody that's in shock and they're walking around. Okay. First of all, thanks for volunteering. Appreciate it. Come on out.
Sure. Do I have to faint?
Nope.
Okay.
But what's your name?
Jenny.
Jenny. Hi, Jenny. I'm Carrie. I'm going to help you because I saw
Carrie.
you fall. Yes, sir.
Let's go 5 more minutes.
Yeah, we'll be done.
We will
Oh, I'm
wrap it
sorry.
up. So if there's any more questions, let's get those in about 5 minutes for the people online.
Yep.
Should I sit back down?
Nope, you're fine. Okay, so she's in shock, right? I saw her fall. Generally, she wouldn't pass out in shock, right? But, hey, Jenny, do you know where you're at? She's going, oh. Hey, yeah, right? Maybe I'm her son. Maybe I'm her grandson. Maybe I'm her neighbor. Who knows? We talk all the time. All of a sudden, okay, first of all, you want EMS coming as fast as you possibly can, and you want to be able to control the core temperature. How do you control the core temperature of an individual? Blanket. What kind of blanket? Not just any space blanket. Once you want it to be a Mylar blanket, 100% Mylar, okay? Because all this other stuff that's not, it ain't gonna work. And you have them in your bags. And I'm just gonna cover up just like that, okay? I gotta control the core temperature, 100%, that's the very first thing, okay? Now, I'm gonna talk kind to her, I'm gonna talk friends with her, I'm gonna be that way. I'm not gonna, hey, blah, blah, blah. Does that make sense? Does that answer your question? That's how you do it. Yeah, just talk to them and all that. But now, thanks, Jimmy, appreciate it. Now, a person can go into shock from anything. I've seen people go into shock for winning money. I've seen people go into shock for losing money, all right? So, any other questions? We got a couple more minutes. Anything else you want to talk about? Yes, sir. Oh, yeah, we talked about that. Okay, here's a good one. Everybody stand up for a second. It's called abdominal thrust. Everybody, if you don't want to, you don't have to, but it's a good thing to learn. Okay, so take, I don't care, left hand, right hand, doesn't matter. Take one hand straight out. Take your thumb just like this, where it's flat, you see? Now I'm short. If I need it, I can get on this deal. So you want it up like that. You want this part of your thumb, find your navel, go a couple inches over, and that's where you want that. And kind of make a little fist with it. So it's going to be like that. You're going to find your belly button, navel, kind of here. Now this hand, straight out, and it's going to go just like this. Not here. It's going to go just like this. You with me? So now don't do it hard. When you do that, just kind of roll it up. You feel that pressure? You're right on top of that diaphragm. Does that make sense? Okay, go ahead and sit back down. Now, when you're doing that, you're not going to be going, oh, sorry. Yes, ma'am. Above, a couple inches above. They ask, where do you go? Hand, it's a couple inches below, okay? Now, this is a lot of pressure. I'm sorry? Above, it's above the navel. Didn't I say that? Or did I say below? I said below? I ain't got no learning, so don't worry about that. I still say police and ambulance, so it's above the navel, okay? Above, up here. Does that make sense? Yeah. Now, when you do that, you're going to wrench on this person. You're not going to be kind. You're not going to be loving. You're going to hurl now because you're doing it so hard, because you're taking that air that's stored in the diaphragm and you're forcing that object out, okay? Does that make sense? When you're doing that, there's all sorts of vital organs right here, and you need to have that individual checked out. Get EMS coming, okay? Now, what if it's an obese person like me, or what if it's a pregnant woman? Same thing, but you're going to do it here in the center of mass, kind of right here, but it's harder. It's a lot harder. But you guys have a piece of equipment. It's called a life vac. Okay, it's called Life Vac, and I'm actually friends with the founder. Do not buy this on Amazon. Come here to get it. Come here to get it. You'll be glad, because they're not fake if you buy them here. They're fake if you buy them on Amazon, I promise. But anyways, it's called a life vac. It works like a plunger. Have the person kind of sit down. If you get stuck down, just pops right out every time. It's Life Vac. Yeah. Yeah, you see them on Fox News all the time. The actual founder was on Fox News yesterday about it. Saved over 1,200 lives. Any school nurses? Works in nurses in schools? Do you have kids in school, like elementary or high school, whatever? They can actually go to Life Vac. There's a form they can fill out. Each school can get one for free. Stuff like it's only for schools though, okay? So if you have a kid or a family member or anything, just if they're a school nurse, let the school nurse know. They can go right to lifevac.com, fill it out, and all that. So, all right. Anything? Yes, ma'am.
So my brother was the chief of police.
Nice.
I say he was because he had a massive heart attack.
Oh, no.
But he did not, he should have known. He did not feel well. He went to his office and he died in his office. But he had a massive heart attack. But he died between the river that he was working in and until someone found him. But he died in his office.
I am so sorry.
I'm proud of him.
Oh, hell yeah.
I'm proud.
Yeah, absolutely.
But my point is, you might think that you're not hurt or this is no big deal. He thought that he was having a little heartburn. He had been an officer for 30 years, and he died from that.
All right, so I can kind of speak right to the point of heart attacks because I got COVID, got sick, messed up my heart, messed up my lungs. I've had 5 heart attacks in the last 3 years. Luckily, knock on wood, all minors. I've been very fortunate. Had even no idea that I had them until I went in to get my stress test done. They said, oh yeah, you had da-da-da-da-da. And I'm like, ooh, well now, to be honest, I lost 87 pounds since then, and stuff. But the difference between a heart attack and cardiac arrest, you can still eat, sleep, drink, walk, talk, golf, whatever. A lot of women think it's angina. You get a heart like you ate bad Chinese or something. A lot of men, the same thing. And still be functional, right? Unless you have a massive coronary, and then I'd just heart bliss, right? But if you ever feel that way, you ever feel like, oh, I feel a little breathy today. Why? I know I didn't eat the bucket of chicken. I just ate one piece. Yeah, you might want to stop what you're doing, okay? You might want to get in touch with a cardiologist or go see your family doctor or something like that. Stay on top of that. Don't be a schlep rock like me and like, oh, I'll just put dirt on it, right? Don't, right? Go take care of yourself. So anyways, do you guys, yes, ma'am.
I carry cayenne with me everywhere because it will help.
I understand
But, I
that.
mean, you're still going to go get help. But if you're out in the desert
Yeah.
and you're alone and you need it, I have seen it work to stop a heart attack. I've seen
The
it work.
only bad
Stop
thing about
bleeding.
there's just no real scientific data that proves that. Even though how I personally believe is different, I can't endorse that. I wish I could. I get it. So, all right, there we go. We had it right from the boss's mouth. So that I'm sorry.
Drop a drop of the tincture under their
Yeah,
tongue and
cayenne
then bring
tincture,
them back
yeah.
from the tunnel.
Yeah. So do you guys?
I've seen it work on
you
dead
guys-
puppies. I've seen it work over and over again.
I
I've
and I
stopped
hit
bleeding.
so. You guys, thank you for spending your night with me, and hopefully you learned something. All that. If you need to get in touch with me, get in touch with these guys. They have all my contact info. I am more than happy to. If you ever need help, just give me a call. I'll spend whatever time I need to. So, thank you guys. Thanks again. I hopefully you guys learned something. So.
That was awesome. Say again. Test 1, 2. Can you hear me? Good.
What I do?
Carrie, thank you so much for being here.
Oh, you're
and
welcome,
did you
brother.
have something you want to say? Okay, go ahead. Come over here because the cameras were right here. Okay. Put it close.
Okay, we have a couple classes coming up with Carrie again. This one, next one, he's going to go over his award-winning KFAC kit. This is on Stop the Bleed. It's Advanced Bleeding and Control class. It's going to be, the kit itself is $159.95, and the class itself is just $10.
If they get the kit, right?
If they get the kit.
Okay, so normally the class is what? How much is it?
$350.
Oh, three
Oh, per
hundred.
person.
No,
is
75.
$75
per person.
But if they get the kit, they get the class for $10. Is that
That's
right?
Correct.
Okay.
So it
Say
saves
that-
quite a bit
say
of
that
money.
for the people online.
So
Okay.
again, $159 for the kit. He's going to go over all the tourniquets. Everybody's going to practice with the tourniquets that night. That date is May 17th, Friday night. It'll be from 6 to 9 p.m. Then May 17th, we have also a certification class. It's going to be held here. And Saturday, May 18th. These are CPR training from childhood, infant to
Child, infant, adult, and CPR, first aid, and AED, and bleeding control.
and bleed control. And that'll be $100. It's
Yeah,
May 17th and May 18th from 8 in the morning till 1:30 in the afternoon. And we're going to block this room out. Only 15 people can come to those certification classes. But if they fill up, I will get a new one.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So to understand what you just said, the kit is normally $159. Okay, but his class is normally $75. But if anybody gets the kit, they get his class for $10. Okay, so just double checking. Okay, and you have the child tourniquets out there. So if anybody, he does. Yeah, he's got 10 of them. So we can get some more later on, but I know a number of people wanted those tourniquets. And if there's anything else you guys need, then we can get that as well. Am I missing anything? First, thank him, everybody.
Hey, I've done this a lot. I travel all over the U.S. and in Canada teaching these and stuff. You guys have had some of the damn best questions I've ever had, and I deal with all sorts of levels of pros, but I've probably had some of the most intellectual, thought-causing questions that I ever had.
Yeah, exactly. You did a great job. Thank you so much, Carrie. So for those of you who are interested in Larry, did everybody get your name on? Because I'm going to call him either tonight or tomorrow and tell him we have probably enough people for a class. And there were some people online who wanted it as well. So we'll just have to, if we had more than his class can hold, so it'll be a first come, first serve if he says yes. And if we get too many people, I can ask him if there's any possible way to do it again later. So, but did everybody get their names on a list somewhere? Yes? Does somebody have a list? There is a list. No, I have to call him and see if he's even willing to do it. So I think so. Yeah. And I've got, well, I shouldn't be saying how many I have. But anyways, yeah, you need to, and it's, yeah, and if you need some help on that I can help you learn how to get the right gun. So, but so as long as somebody has a list, Missy, who has the list?
We do. In the back.
You, okay, so we definitely have it. Okay, perfect. Okay, I will keep you guys posted. Thank you so much for everybody online, and thanks again for being here tonight.
Hello. What did you want? Do you have the child tourniquets or? He says he has some, and I don't even know if he has them.
grab those real quick. Do you have the microphone?
Did I set it down? Yep. Thank you. Here you go.
And then,
Yeah, I have no clue what they are.
let's see. Hey, Carrie. Carrie. Could you grab those tourniquets? People are trying to buy them.
1 second.
Like your guys' name now,